Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Where's Your Heart? Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and chime on in with the group. And here we have our outstanding, amazing, stupendous human beings that I have the pleasure of being able to share this space with on Where's Your Heart. I always mess this up. To my left, that way, the real Teresa Robinson. And then to my other left, man 20 grand, the Royce, holding space where we champion vulnerability as a core human strength. Thank you all for joining us. How you guys feeling today?
Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I know we talked about, we want to make sure that we thank all of our viewers, all of our listeners, all the supporters that we've had up until this point and that we have to this very day. And we offer this opportunity for you to make sure that you chime in, that you like, that you subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the latest updates to what we're doing on Where's Your Heart and some of the things that we have rolling out and some of the transitions that we're about to make. So take this moment, share with those people, and then we get this party started.
That is the best way to put it. That was very good.
Whatever platform you're on, there's actually a link right to the YouTube that's in the first comment and a link to the stream if you want to jump on the stream today with us. And actually, we're still working on the phone number. We promised that it's coming.
So it's come visit show.
But still, jump in here. We're honoring the transition that we're going through today.
Yes.
So this is Torian's last day on screen. So come join us on screen. We've got a great guest to help us talk about mindfulness, and that seems appropriate.
Absolutely.
LG's already jumping in, saying hi, fam. Good to see you.
Yes. Man 20 grand, Gerard LeGrone, what's going on, man? Appreciate you chiming in. I love you, brother. I love you. For real.
Yeah, I don't know if folks who watch the show know what it means. Like, in my mind, the stream doesn't start till LG speaks up.
This is true.
I think
This
like
is
until
true.
he posts.
that's when it gets started.
That's the official stamp. That is true. That's true.
All right, we got some gratitude. What's going on, gratitude?
So we're gonna do our gratitude. Oh man, but this better be good. We gotta have some good gratitude. Cause
All right, Teresa, well, you can start off.
You're starting then, aren't you?
okay,
Got it.
so I have to say, because it was a hard last week for me.
Yeah.
It was hard. So I am gonna be grateful that my brother, my younger brother, my baby brother Eddie, which he hates being called that, but he's used to it. He is here in Albuquerque, and he just happened to come in the day the announcement was made. So I am grateful that he's here.
Welcome to Albuquerque.
I know, we're gonna out here in lockdown.
So wait, Teresa. So why has it been a tough week for you? That's the question.
You know, I don't want to say it was a naive thought. I'm not going to say that. There was just this sense, you know, we went through the election. There are many that still don't believe the results, and I understand it's hard. I don't know. I just kind of felt like I wouldn't have to deal with the whole having to explain the difference between voting and counting and doing it more than once. So it was hard. It was a hard lot of praying, soul searching that happened last week. So I am so grateful that this, you know, the end of the week started out, you know, considering the announcement made. My brother is here. I haven't got to see him in a while, so we get to spend some time together.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of time together. So I am grateful.
Good
You
stuff.
got to find the silver lining in all you do.
You are right.
So that's mine.
All right, the Royce, man. It's on you.
What are you talking? You get to go next.
I went first. I'm gonna do like I used to do my little sister. I went first.
I see how it is.
You got to go first.
I mean, so today I'm grateful for my editor. I got the first look at her pass through a paper that I wrote last semester, and she's fucking amazing. Like, I'm telling you, it's just like she took a poem that I wrote and she first off reformatted it so that it actually like looks like it should. Like, I don't know. I'm not used to having partners in crime and stuff like this, where like she makes my shit actually express what I wanted it to, if that makes sense at all. Like, that's so anyway, I just treasure that. And then she spent like 30 or 45 minutes on the first like paragraph of my book, because yesterday was the first time she got to look at it, and she was just like gushing about it, but then like spent like the time she's like, shh, I need you to be quiet, I gotta work here, and she just started editing right away. And it was just, I'm watching,
she's all, let me just get this done.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was one of those, again, like, just, oh my god, this is, I'm excited. Like, yeah. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah, having partners in crime, man, that's what it's all about. Co-conspirators.
It's
yes.
fun.
That's true. That is very true. Boy, so I guess it's my turn.
It's you.
Yes.
Got to jump into gratitude. This past week, I am extremely grateful just for having the space to be still. And so for me, I'm making a really big transition professionally. I'm actually making a transition physically, not just internally physically, but moving to another place. And I just really took this last week to be still, to be alone, to try to hear a little bit of my inner voice around the decisions that have been made, but more importantly, how it's going to impact people that I love and that I care about. And I've really needed that space, and my friends and stuff have created that for me, and my family, for the most part, have honored that. But just taking the time to take it all in and be present and be still has been good. So I've gotten some of the best sleep that I've had in a while. No, seriously.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Over
When
the
that
past
weight
week.
is lifted, you
like,
can rest.
Last night I literally slept like 9 hours and 15 minutes straight. Like, I didn't get up, I didn't do any, and I have not slept that long. I can't remember straight through. Now some people would say, "Whoa, what do you do for a living if you sleep 9 hours?" But no, seriously,
normally you've been getting like 2 or 3. So
exactly. I wake up in the middle of the night. Just so many different things going on. So just having a space, being able to create the space, and having the support to be still for a little bit and just internalize things has been grateful. So I'm grateful for that, and the people who supported it, friends who were like, "Oh, I'm not hearing from you," and stuff like that, and weren't too needy. Thank you.
You gotta give thanks. That's a good one.
Seriously, I was being honest,
Yeah.
Yeah. So always room to be grateful.
I'm glad that you have that weight lifted. I know you were struggling. Like, it's this great opportunity and things, but I'm glad that the weight's lifted.
Yeah, it has been, but a lot of it from a psychological and emotional standpoint has really been from acceptance. And I know Christiana is going to talk a little bit about this when she gets on, but just accepting the situation with the people that I love, or specifically my parents, the decisions that they've made or that they haven't made. And instead of trying to come in and be the fixer, actually coming in, holding space, and just honoring the moment. And so that's been really hard for me, because I'm a doer. I like to get things done. I like to move the needle, right? And it's hard when you have people that you love and who created the opportunities for you, who are choosing not to move the needle for themselves. And I have to accept that, I mean, I'm I'm feeling it as I'm talking about it. It's hard though, because you see the direction that it's going. And I had a good friend of mine kind of tell me, they're waiting for you to let them go. And even saying those words is hard to accept, but they're waiting for you to let them go, to release them. So it's on me. So yeah, I don't know, I mean, kind of deep, but yeah, I mean, it's real. So it's more than just the professional part of it. It's
like, what does it mean to you to let your parents go?
Man, about to have me crying on this camera all show. That's a great question. That's why I love you so much. No, I'm not deflecting. It means detaching myself from our emotional past. It means acceptance and detaching myself from my expectations for them and honoring where they want to be and the choices that they've made. It means learning to love where they are, instead of where I want them to be or where I think they should be, because this is how I think for myself, right? I mean, you guys see it when we talk about the show. It's like, hey, but we should be here. Let's try to get here in January, right? I mean, that's how my mind works. So strategy and long-term thinking is like second nature. But for me, being present in the moment is a learning opportunity. It's a growth opportunity for me. And I'm saying this on camera that will forever live in infamy. So I don't know if I ever run for office, this may come back, but it's true. I work in the truth, but it's true. So really learning how to be in that and then share that space with them without any expectations, without me projecting expectations onto them or without me expecting to hear some type of expectations from them. And just sitting there talking, watching television, maybe playing a board game. It's a hard transition. So anyway, we're getting off into a huge tangent.
Yeah,
I mean, because as I've been working through this, it's like the clinical term for it is anticipatory grief. And I've been working through this for a while, and when I think back to where I've been over the past few years, personally, it's been that way from a past relationship where there was a big loss, and then I transitioned directly into family dynamics that hadn't been dealt with. So it's been quite a while that I've been in anticipatory grief. So I'm transitioning out of that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's tough too, because when we get to that phase where it's our turn to take care of our parents, we hold a lot of expectations around it and a lot of wanting to do for them what they did for us. But the problem is that that's not what they need. They need different things than when they were taking care of us. And that's, I don't know, for most of us, it's very, very disorienting and very painful. Because it's not caring for a child, where when you care for the child, you actually do know what's best for them, and they don't have a say in it. You have to eat your broccoli.
Wait, because you hear the background noise?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a party going on.
Yeah, it's a party. Okay, because I didn't hear the last thing that you said though. So say it one more time.
No, I mean, like it's different when you're a parent of a child, because we have to be able to help them make good decisions, and we literally do know what's best for them. But it's a very different role when we're caring for an older loved one, a parent, for example, because it's the unknowing and the willingness to journey with, and it's fucking painful and helpless feeling. Like so thank you for talking about it, man, because it's not something I ever hear, especially men, talk about. What's it like to care for an older loved one? What's it like to care for mom? Like, she wiped our ass for years.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of guilt. For me, I can't speak for anybody else, but we had a show, with our guy and our supporter, HB. Shout out to my man. We go back over 20 years. He's been a lifelong, ever since I've known him, he's been a caregiver for his mom. So we've been talking about this for a while, but it's very different to be in it. Yeah. For the past 3 years, I've been in it day to day, trying to grow a business, or actually growing it successfully, and really being in two different worlds and having to navigate in and out of those silos at any given moment. It can be taxing. Well, it is taxing. So I think it's important for us to be able to talk about these kind of things, regardless of our gender, because I think there's a larger community is growing of people who are actually having to be caregivers for, elderly loved ones, whether it's their parents or aunts, grandparents, So it's a big thing.
I don't even know how to segue into this. I'm just going to click it.
That's true. Teresa, this means you're kicking this off, because Torian and I have been babbling.
Yeah, I'll go on and on.
Well, I already shared, my part of the week. It was interesting, just the conversations being had online, and just still seeing this division, which is sad to see. And I really, I know we won't always be butting heads as bad as this is. We're just going to have our disagreements. That's the beauty of this country, is that you can have that. It's just, sometimes some of the conversations I'm just surprised that I end up having, or that even come into play. And it was interesting just to even see, kind of getting some history lessons on what's going on right now, and why is it so important that there is this transition of, he needs to say he conceded, then we can get this XYZ. Like, I thought to myself, well, does he really need to say that he concedes? Can't they just, But of all the times I would see a president have power, it seems to be now. And I just find it very interesting how they essentially, some Republican leaders felt that Trump needed to just be given the time to, accept what's going on. And
what is he, a fucking 2-year-old?
Right. It's almost like he, like the election was a girl that he felt deep for. It was real deep, and now he doesn't have it anymore. So you got to give him that time. You got to give him the time to feel the feelings and accept what's happening, and just,
on the one hand, yeah, feelings operate at their own pace, but on the other, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Meantime,
that's exactly how I felt.
Every day that this transition is not handed over or done, with co-leadership, the reason we put these priorities in place was because part of how the terrorists were able to drop those buildings on 9/11 was because of the changeover in presidencies, and the incoming president was way behind on all the updates on intelligence. So, this is why we put this in place.
Uh-huh.
And here we are in the midst of a pandemic, with theoretically vaccines that are starting to come online and be viable, and we're going to risk delaying that so that McPoutyface can throw his little temper tantrum. I don't have
I'm
much
going to use
patience for that shit.
McPoutyface. I
In
like
the
that
meantime,
one.
There's good shit here. Sinceris, our guest from last week, I love it. She's like, "Hi, crew. Good to see you."
Yes.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you.
We had fun. We had fun with him last week. That was a good show.
So I think the other thing in the last week tonight is while we're still paying attention to this in this country, there's a Category 5 hurricane
yep.
hitting Central America again. This is the third one. This is a record-setting hurricane season, but global climate change, that's not a thing. Fuck science, I guess.
Oh, no.
And so and here it is. People are we're talking about a death toll that will probably hit thousands of people in the midst of a pandemic. And we're still.
And it's the
waiting.
second time. It's the second time of getting hit. This is the worst timing ever. And it was cool to see they sent up a rocket. I was excited to see that.
Yeah.
I was like, yay! That was one of the things I enjoyed. Just every time we were, there were shuttles going up in space. I remember that just being this big celebration, and then they stopped it.
Yeah.
It stopped. So it was cool to watch that. I have to say that was pretty awesome.
Torian, you gotta unmute, dude.
All right, I'm sitting here talking to myself. I apologize. I was trying to cut down any background noise. I apologize about that. Now, I was saying that the brother that's on that astronaut mission is one of my fraternity brothers, the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity.
Oh, my God.
Wow!
Yeah, amazing human being. We met once in passing, so I don't know him personally, but the role that he has and what he's doing, and to be a member of our trusted organization is near and dear to my heart. So I got to say, go mob to him. Be safe, and welcome you coming back.
You get 45 still keep trying to.
And ours, you're nailing it.
That was good.
That
was good.
That roll through last week. It's crazy. So somebody mentioned my sound is low.
Yes, that was Shane.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
Shane, so man. Now Shane is chiming in from Japan.
Oh,
Japan.
Awesome. Hey, that's my man. We used to run track together, and he was way better than I was, and now he's a better human being.
It's 8:00 in the morning over there, right?
Trusted fan, man. He likes the show,
And we got another shout out.
Yeah,
Hey,
look at
you already see what it is. You already see what it is. Everybody knows. You hear about the other stuff. Other stuff it is marketed well, but everybody really knows. It's okay.
Well, guys, I'm going to segue out
It's time.
for you guys to talk about this week's topic.
Oh
what
my
is
God.
this week's topic?
I think it all blends. I mean, for me, it all blends. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. For me, it all blends. I talked about just being able to hold the space, and then just what the last week has been for me. So I think the topic is really around transitions, right? We talked about the president elect and the current president and that transition and how people feel about it and are looking at it, but just like, what does it mean to be in transition? Because we know that the only constant in this world is change. Things are
Yep.
always evolving, they're always changing, whether we recognize them or acknowledge them. It doesn't really matter. And so how do you navigate that? How do you
Yeah.
kind of work through the uncertainty of what that's like? So from everything that we've talked about, that's really the topic, and I'm excited to be able to have it not only with you, but to have it with our guest as well.
Yeah.
And so our guest that we're going to bring on now, because we want to make sure we give a whole time for her to speak, is an amazing human being. Please make sure that you go check her out. She is a mindfulness coach, working all throughout the United States. Her and I used to work together. Boy, it was 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. And just to see like the kind of person that she's become, bloomed into personally and professionally, and just, being able to hold that kind of space with people in such an authentic way. She's one of my favorite human beings. So that said, I would like for us to bring in Miss Christiana Serle Moss. You can put that on there, but I'm gonna put the Moss on the end though. What's up,
I did.
Christiana?
Hi.
So mix a lot. It's
All right,
inside
there's a
joke.
story.
It's an inside joke. I'll let Christiana tell that one.
We need the story.
Oh gosh.
I'll let her tell that one.
Well, my maiden name is Serle, which is what I go by professionally. Moss is my husband's last name. And in college, I played lacrosse, and we had to have a nickname, and so mine was Serle Mix-a-Lot. If anyone knows
That's fantastic.
the song that may be from. So, anyway, thanks for
It's
bringing that one up.
We just carried it over into her professional life, right? We just
Yeah, so yeah, Torian, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
But
It is
I've
crazy.
followed you all around the world, as far as virtually at least.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You know that. So it's an honor to have you on, and you and I talk about this off and on when we talk, and just when I come down there and visit. But tell us a little bit about what you do, and of course we'll be able to chime into the larger conversation with that.
Sure. So I work a lot in mindfulness coaching. So I work with individuals on how to be more present for their lives. So, like you all were talking at the beginning of the show, going through transitions, maybe not feeling as connected in your relationships with your family or your friends. We'll work through things like that. So I do a lot of individual work, but I also do corporate wellness. So I work with companies to incorporate these practices and wellness principles into the workplace. So how do we have these types of conversations? How do we get people to be more present when we're all so distracted by social media, by our phones, by everything that we have, the election that you all talked about? So those are kind of the two main things that I work on now. And yeah, so that's basically what I do.
So I'm going to jump right in with a question. I'm
Please.
jumping right in because we've talked about this a little bit, and we've worked
Mhm.
together professionally. So we've shared a lot of different environments together. When you have conversations with organizations around mindfulness and how it impacts business, like what is their response? Like how do they connect the two?
So the thing with mindfulness is, well, and wellness in general, the challenge is you can't really display a return on investment. If you invest $5 here, you'll get $5 back, because it's so difficult to measure that from a healthcare claims standpoint. But what you can measure is, are people leaving? Are they staying with the company? Are they happier? On surveys, are they showing that they feel supported by their manager? All of those types of things. And so incorporating a wellness program or mindfulness into the workplace can help employees feel like their employer really cares about them, that their employer wants them to be healthy, to have a work-life balance, all of these things. So that's kind of what we work on when we talk about why it's important to have a wellness program in general, and specifically one that centers around mindfulness.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, so let's go at it right here. We have an example of like a change and transition that's affecting our quality of Teresa and Torian are about to flip. What are some good questions for us to be thinking about during something like this? Like, this is a startup, and we're having to go through a transition much sooner than expected.
Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing is to just be aware that I'm sure there's a lot of emotions and thoughts that are going on in your mind, you know, probably a little bit of anxiety, fear, this is not what we were expecting, you know, perhaps even a little bit of anger of, you know, why did he do this to us? Kind of
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry.
You know, I'm sort of kidding because I know everyone on here is very excited for you and your next adventure. But, you know, that's not to say that these emotions that we're having are not real. So the first thing is being curious around what are we experiencing, and then sort of accepting that. Torian, you talked about that a little bit earlier, and Royce also about, you know, accepting what is. So not resisting that he is transitioning into a different role, accepting that that is happening, and then making a plan for how that moves forward, you know, moving into the transition plan. But, you know, really it all comes about from just becoming aware of what you are feeling in your mind and in your body. And so with mindfulness, we talk a lot about the connection of the mind and the body, because we often tend to get stuck in our heads, right? We're thinking, oh my God, we're worrying, this sucks, I can't believe this. And we spend so much time in that resistance that if we just said, okay, I accept that this is what it is, let's move on and make it the best thing we can in this other path that maybe we didn't see before, it can be much less painful for everyone.
Wow. Yeah. So I could see like that's a tenet of just change management, which is always, especially right now in COVID. I mean, you know, to have this, there have been so many moments that where I literally started to feel like my hands were swelling, you know, because there's just this underlying anxiety that's there, being a full-time caregiver or being a caregiver and then being in the midst of a global pandemic, trying to figure that out, right? It's like you need to move around, but you can't because you don't want people that you love to be at risk. And you're right. There, I mean, you know, my mind is bouncing back and forth. I mean, it's funny because sometimes I just feel like it's a pinball machine. It's like ding, 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 you know, through all these different thoughts. So
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's where just becoming aware of that and not punishing yourself for saying, I shouldn't be feeling this. I should be feeling this other way. You know, I should want to stay home with my parents and continue to be the caregiver. I should, you know, do these things. So not allowing yourself, you mentioned guilt earlier, you know, to become aware of that feeling of guilt and again, acceptance, accepting that it is here. And how can you transform that into something else and not allow it to run your life?
But some of us are really good at shooting all over ourselves. Let's just get that out.
I think a lot of us are, unfortunately.
So I'm kind of fascinated though by like the parallels between what you're saying and like the resistance to change that's going on in this country, like at a massive level, just a rejection of fact, a rejection of reality, and like there are very real life consequences to all of this. There have been since day one of the COVID situation, that we're going to reject science. We're going to reject the fact that people are dying. There's 250,000 people dead in this country. All of the projections show that that could have been minimized if we'd have taken certain precautions, but we didn't. So it, like, that's when we talk about what change management, when we talk about acceptance, these are things that have very real consequences. Like, this is not just quote unquote feelings and shit. No, this is very real consequences. The resistance to change, the resistance to accepting fact, accepting what is, accepting reality, is that people are fucking dying. And that won't always be that way, hopefully. Like, hopefully, when we go through a change in our lives, it's not life or death, but that is how the body responds to it. Like, yeah, I've said something. I'm sure. I don't know where I'm going, but that.
Just keep going, man. Keep going.
Yeah,
Keep
and I
going.
think
No.
the thing that's really hard, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie The Social Dilemma.
I
I
watched half
just,
of it.
yeah, I just watched it earlier this week, and it was really eye-opening that, you know, what may be fact to us is not presented to someone else who has clicked certain things and is
Mm,
seen as be believing something else. So it's
yeah.
very difficult to navigate this world right now when people are not seeing the same information that we are because of what we have shown to
Yeah.
the social networks that we're interested in. So it's a
Yeah.
very eye-opening movie, or film, I guess, if you are interested in that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There are real implications to not accepting change. And how can we, you know, all feel that we are on, you know, and essentially we're all on one team, whether you voted for one party or not, we're all in the same country, we're all on the same team. And how can we all get together to unite and move forward with the winner of the election? You know, so that's, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here on that, but you know,
I
that's the
mean,
challenge that our country is facing as we do move forward here, that half the country didn't vote for the winner.
mm, well, I mean, personally, I hate even using the term winner because I just like this is the person that is the new president. Like, wait, I don't, because winners and losers, like that whole fucking scenario. This is part of what I mean, this is part of my issue with the Constitution, honestly,
Hmm.
is that the winner take all scenario disenfranchises people regularly.
Mhm.
We deserve a better system. And we don't have it. But yeah, 70 million people voted for somebody else. Um, and that's the reality of this country right now.
Mhm.
So when is that not the case though? When is it not a 52-48 type of a situation with our elections or the likeness of?
Oh, you mean in like 2016 when the other candidate won the popular vote?
Well,
I
I'm not saying who won or
mean,
lost. What I'm saying is the numbers, right? Regardless of the side that people are on, isn't it
okay.
usually a 51-49 type of a situation, roughly?
There are rare instances when it's been more than I mean overall in the popular vote there are rare instances.
Okay.
So
Like the last
usually
election, what you're saying.
yeah, like usually
Okay.
it's very, very close. And yeah, but the challenge is that we have decided that decorum doesn't matter. We've decided that centuries old rules about how we treat each other in conflict, um, and Congress is a perfect example of this, both the House and the Senate. Those rules have been thrown out the window. Um, when you see 500 judges stonewalled under Obama so that they could stack the court, like these are levels of denial, these are levels of conflict that people were not willing to tolerate before, and we're willing to tolerate it now, and that has consequences.
Mhm.
And this is one of the challenges that we have with the ecology of data. If we
Mm,
think about it's good to have data analytics and to really be able to dig deep into certain situations, but the real thing is kind of like the Jedi, right? The Jedi and the dark side in the Star Wars trilogy, if you haven't watched it, check it out. You understand what I'm talking about. They have the same powers, right? They can jump and flip, and they have their own version of Yoda with Vader, and their sticks are different colors, but they have the same tools, but they're used for very different reasons. Like their intentions are very different. And I just think it's an opportunity where what we're seeing now is where people feel disenfranchised, whether you agree with them or not.
mm,
And people are using tools to kind of say, no, we need to move forward. So I look at it more from the standpoint of like most humans in this situation are going to leverage the tools that are there to get the outcome that they want. I just wish that we were using our data better to say, hey, here's how this affects everybody and not just one particular interest. Because at the end of the day, whether the aliens are going to be released and or our environment just says, okay, you guys suck, we're just going to get rid of you, nobody's going to be thinking about the stuff that we talk about. It's going to be like our race, the real race, is
mm,
about to be wiped out. And that is the bigger picture that's like everybody's kind of missing,
yeah.
you know? So anyway, I'm off my
No, that's very true, though.
my
I mean, what
soapbox.
are the real problems, and are we ignoring them?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you talk about change management or mindfulness coaching, what like what do you do with people that are in complete denial?
Mm.
Like, how do you approach it?
I mean, typically people that come to me are aware that they have something that they want to change. So I wouldn't say that it's complete
Mm,
denial, but as they become more present and slow down a little bit, they start to realize that there are aspects of themselves that they're completely disconnected from. I'm working with a couple of male executives right now that are realizing that they are completely disconnected from their families,
Mm.
mm,
that their kids are growing up and they aren't spending the time with them that they want to be, partially because of the pandemic and feeling like I have to have control over something, and that
yep,
something is work.
yep,
And so they're working all the time and they don't even know how to put the phone down to connect with their kids. So it's not that they're in complete denial of it necessarily, but as we start to work together and they realize what's happening and their kid is now reflecting back to them exactly how
right,
they act,
yep,
they're starting to notice it and say, I don't want to live like this anymore. So some of it's becoming just awakening to that awareness of what they're doing or choosing not to do. And a lot of it is centered around work or the use of the cell phone or
Mm.
both, you know.
right. So,
Go ahead.
well, I want to take a second here to shout out to our viewers. Please, like, post questions in chat, but more
Yeah.
importantly, click on the links. They're on all the social media that we're streaming to, and jump in the
Yes.
studio with us. Whether
Yes.
you got a question for Torian about his last time on the screen, I'm gonna keep mentioning this because
It's
it
until next
sucks.
time. It's never the end. It's until next time. That's how we
All
put that
right,
out
all
there.
right, yeah. I'm grieving death. I don't know, like whatever's on the other side of it, it'll be. But also, if you have a question for Christiana, like yeah, pop in here, jump in. We won't bite.
Yes.
We want to like
This is your show. Where's Your Heart is your show.
yeah.
It does
There
not exist. It does not grow unless we are all contributing. So please contribute to your show. We're just holding a space for all of us. That's it.
yeah.
That's
Yep.
it.
I mean, I can tell you what people most commonly ask me about how to
Ooh.
incorporate mindfulness into their lives, like right away, if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or there's a question here from Penny that I'll get to. So what I recommend if you're trying to incorporate mindfulness is just really to start with, like I said at the beginning, connecting with how you're feeling and who you want to be each day. So a lot
Mm,
of us, like I said, are very disconnected from who am I and how do I want to be today, and just connecting with that. And then you can also do some breath work, which you can Google. I mean, there's tons of resources out there for that kind of thing, lots of apps. But, just even like Torian mentioned earlier today, just sitting by yourself for a few minutes, going for a walk by yourself, looking out a
mhm.
window, you know, anything that you can do to give yourself a breath of fresh air, so to speak, to separate from everything else that you have going on. So I just wanted to share that in case that's helpful.
I feel called out about skipping meditation today. Uh, I
It's
mean,
all right.
because you're exactly right. Like the cortisol levels are trackable, and that's cortisol is the stress hormone that when we talk about mindfulness, this is how we decrease it. Mindfulness
Hmm.
is a practice that helps us do that. So Penny, yeah, working with patients on a daily basis, I've seen significant increase in anxiety and depression.
Mm.
Everything is taking a serious toll on our mental health, and mental and physical health. And I mean, if you're working with patients, it's not just happening with the patients; it's also happening with the caregivers.
Yes.
All the
Exactly.
caregivers that are in my circle, like yeah. So, Christiana, say something about that. Like what?
Yeah. Is it heightened like right now? Like,
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of the numbers have caught up with the what's happening,
That's
because a
well
lot of
said.
people aren't going to see their kid, Penny, I'm not sure what type of medicine that you practice, but a lot of people aren't going to those appointments because they're scared to go outside. So I think and plus the stigma behind mental health. Thankfully, there are some walls breaking down around that with people speaking out about various experiences they have. Celebrities, professional athletes, a lot of those people are coming out saying that they really struggle with these things. So I don't think that we're seeing like X amount of people are experiencing mental health issues because of this. But, I speak for myself, transitioning from being out and about working with people in person to suddenly being working in my home office with my husband like 2 feet away from me, also working here with, with kids right outside banging down the door because they don't have school anymore. It was very, very stressful and still is on a daily basis, kind of having to navigate, like we talked about, change for everyone.
Yeah.
And so I totally think we're going to experience the effects of this as a nation, as a global community for a long time after this, unfortunately, but luckily we do have tools if we're able to access the right ones at the right time.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say people haven't really talked about it, because I don't think I've ever said this on the show, but I have a therapist that I work with, a caregiving therapist, because of the amount of stress and things that I was trying to process and deal with since I've been a caregiver, or really back in the environment with my family. And it's just amazing how so many things are unearthed once you sit still and you sit in it. And it's very uncomfortable. And I think that's why a lot of people avoid it. Because, I mean, even for someone, I work as an executive coach. I have clients. I work in this space. But to actually do it and practice it when it's uncomfortable for you and your reality is very different. It's very different.
That's actually one of the things I'm grieving about you transitioning to behind the camera, honestly, is that you and I have a chemistry about how we hold space. And it's been something I treasure, and I had to like put my finger on it during this transition, because I know that Teresa and I are going to have very different chemistry, which is awesome. But one of the things that I treasure about the way you and I have done this dance is I realize there are literally no other places that are multiple people places in my life where I can count on somebody else to hold the space while I misbehave a little sometimes. I mean, it sounds silly, but that for me, like, I'm the space holder for everybody else in my life when we're in group settings. So this really hurts, because I've been able to dance with you on that and trust you on that in ways that literally I'm trying to like think of other places in my life where I have that. And if it is out there, it's obviously very rare, because it doesn't come to mind. So it's one of the things I treasure about you. And I also, I have to say that because I'm also looking forward to seeing what Teresa brings. She has more interview experience than you and I put together.
Yep.
Like, so it's all good stuff, but it also, like, that part will go away. And that's so yeah. There you go.
For now. And I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, because it is and I talked a little bit about this before, this anticipatory grief. It's a real thing. I've been learning about it. I've been talking to my therapist about it. And how I learned about it, I was like, because, I'm curious. I'm like, hey, let me see your notes. I want to see what you're writing about me. I'm serious. And so my man, JT, he said, yeah, we have good chemistry. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. He's another brother of the show. And so I'm like, let me read your notes. I want to see what you're writing. And basically she was just kind of bulleting all these things that I had been sharing with her. And then she had like this kind of diagnosis or whatever. And so we talked about it. And boy, once we started to dig into it, because essentially what it is my body, my mindset, my emotional state, my neural pathways are all experiencing a huge loss that I'm anticipating mentally. And so my physical function is responding as if it's already happened. So it can be worse than the actual huge loss, because there's no end. And it just keeps going. And it keeps going. And it keeps going. And so I'm like, wow, like that's a real thing. And so it's helped me get to the other side. But boy, it took a very long time to just get to that point. Yeah.
The mind is so powerful, though. The fact that we can experience physical, sensations and even like potential medical outcomes from something that didn't even happen is incredible. So what else are we doing to ourselves by the stress that we're experiencing, by the thoughts that we're having that we're not even aware of?
But
And
the
that goes,
brain,
and that, oh,
the
sorry, go
brain
ahead.
doesn't differentiate.
Hmm.
Emotional pain and physical pain are just pain to the brain. Like this is some of the
Yeah.
side effects. So even if it's imagined, like when we wake up from a dream that was horrific or something, the body
Hmm.
experienced it because the brain did. Period.
Yeah.
Like that's yeah.
So then I
What
have
you
to
got,
go
Tori?
back to my last question. Why do we have such a dissonance in the business community between this? The
Mm,
connection between heart and mind. Like personally, and I mean maybe Christiana can attest to this, like I've always tried to show up that way, even if I didn't have words around it. And I knew it was always important because I knew when I didn't feel it. Like when I had
Mm.
people that I reported to or that I worked with that were kind of unaware, like little empathy. I never felt
mm,
heard. Like I remember when I became a hiring manager in 2004, 2005. I remember saying to myself, I made a list. I said, "This is how I am going to show up.
mm,
I want to listen. I want empathy. I want to mitigate mundane things that aren't important to how we're actually measured in performance." And I got some slack for it, but I'm cool with that because I was always showing up in a way that was authentic to me. But I always understood that there was a connection, that there wasn't a,
yes.
hey, you turn down your laptop at 6 o'clock and then you turn into another person. That's not true.
Hmm. I have to say, Torian, and I've told you this before, as one of your hires, I feel that, you taught me so much about that, about, we not to toot our own horns, I guess, but we had one of the most successful teams, but we did it in an unconventional way because
Mm,
we weren't as tied to this, like, okay, you have to do this way and this here and this here. You let everyone have their own way of doing things and going about things. And I mean, I'm sure you know the stats much better than I do. You had the top performing person like multiple years in a row, like number one team, all of these things. And you also encouraged people to move on. I remember you saying when I first started, like, if you're still here in 5 years, I've not done my job well because I want you to grow, I want you to expand. And I think a lot of managers and teams can really learn that
yeah.
from you and your new your new on your new journey, especially because that's something I've really carried forward throughout my career is everyone's different and we all have different ways of doing things well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That variety.
Hmm.
And how do we not only make space for it, but cherish it? Because
Hmm.
that's the when I it's God, Torian, we have so much DNA in common somewhere. I don't know where
We
the hell
do,
it is,
man.
but like it used because it shocks people when you tell them, no, I like my job is to replace me. My job is for you is that in 2 or 3 years you're not doing the job that I hire you for. Like that's the goal here. Zenda,
Zenda checking
there
in.
she
That's the family
is.
right there, man. We got avid supporters from day one. What's up,
Yeah,
Zenda?
yeah. But that's, I mean, because that's the reality. Caring for the whole human being matters. When I used to be in sales like that, every time we had a sales team where whoever was in charge, and this was something I worked at, um, when we cared for the whole person, the team just rose. Like it was always synergistic every single time. Suddenly we didn't have to pay attention to metrics
Hmm.
because they just happen, because people, like, we can all do just about, I mean, we can all do any number of jobs in our lives. We always
Hmm.
think we're hiring for skills and shit. We're not. We're hiring human beings, not
Mm.
fucking cogs for a wheel. So anyway, yeah, that's huge stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, the
Yeah.
ROI doesn't exist. Like
Right.
how the hell is, like, I don't
Well,
know,
but
I
see,
always dance with that.
but as an executive coach, this is where I would ask an executive, like, how are
Hmm.
you measuring ROI? How are you measuring success? And
Yeah.
that's where, as a leader, you have the ability to determine that. And you can put frameworks, qualitative, quantitative, a mixture of both in that. So you can't have some unit of measure. But if you're not open to saying, hey, we're going to measure success and ROI this way, and here's how it plays into our business, it starts with you. And that's one of the things that I've always talked about with courageous vulnerability, which is modeling is one of the most important things.
Qualitative ROI. Are you real? Like, is this? I've
Yeah,
never seen this actually discussed. Like when I see
yes, you can.
ROI, it's all I know,
Yes, you
but
can.
everything that I've ever seen, it's all been quantitative, and it's always self-reported bullshit, which is just not bullshit. Some of it is good, but it's often done by people who don't know how to ask the questions and don't
Exactly.
know how to read the results.
Totally.
Exactly.
So quantitative stuff is very problematic because it just, yeah. So God, the thought of a corporation doing qualitative research on its people, whoa.
Hey man, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout is all I have to say. Be
All
on the
right,
lookout.
all right.
I've seen a lot of that coming out too. It's just the employees have to trust that their results are anonymous. Because if they feel that they might be traced at some point, the scores are going to be significantly higher than maybe they really are feeling. Torian, I don't know if you've seen that as well, but that's what I see.
I have, yeah, but it goes back to absolutely right. So how do you create an
Self-reporting.
environment of trust? And so I ask leaders all the time, like, how do you know that the people that you have in your sphere of influence feel safe? Right? You ask the question, but do they feel safe enough in answering it? Is it going to be punitive? And that's where it gets really sticky because you're right. That whole mirror of how have I shown up? How have I modeled what I want? And then you can kind of see a dissonance between what they may say and say, here's who we are and what we want to be, as opposed to who they've actually shown up as and made decisions under. And that's the first place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, like we make those decisions at a subconscious level. That's part of the challenge, is that people won't even necessarily be able to articulate whether or not they feel safe, because their subconscious has decided this, and their response even to a basic question like that.
Yeah.
So it really matters how we do this research if we're going to talk about ROI and something like this.
And like one of our consistent listeners and viewers said, Janine Rogers, he said it's much needed, right? So thank you for chiming in, Janine.
Yeah.
Much needed. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
God, I love that profile pic.
I do too.
That's a question. So how do you feel about the fact that we have a woman of color as the vice president of elected United States, Christiana? I'm asking everybody this, so I hope it's.
I love it. I mean, I was sobbing during her speech. It was just so neat to see someone advance in their career to that level, and from her background,
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic.
So why did it hit your heartstrings so strong?
I think, I think it was just like you guys talked about, it was such a stressful election season. Everything about it was just so anxiety provoking. What's going to happen? And then I felt like, to see someone that she was just such a beautiful speaker, and the words that she said about unity and just that she was representing all of the different communities. And to see all the little kids in the audience, I can't say exactly, but I was literally sobbing. My husband's like,
Are you okay?
What's going on over there?
But
I loved it.
That's the reality of it, is that I'm not sure, well, especially white men like me, I'm not sure we even begin to understand what that means. I mean, the closest I can come is the first time I saw the Tide commercial a few years ago, where it had a man doing the laundry and taking care of his kids, and I like crying while it was live, and then went to YouTube and just kept replaying it because I couldn't believe that I saw a man doing what I do in my life. Like that's the closest I can come. But I mean, imagining what it's like to never see somebody who resembles you in some key ways doing these things. It's incredible.
Yeah.
How about you, Torian? What do you think?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I think politics aside from me, I think it's a very powerful statement. I think I'll actually say I think the past 3 elections were powerful. I know a lot of people won't agree with my sandwich, but the fact that you have seriously, because it's the visuals, right? Because for a certain community, there were people who saw our current president as a ray of hope, of difference, and somebody that wasn't a part of the machine. I'm not saying I agree with them or not. I'm saying I'm trying to be empathetic as to how they saw it. Of course, having President Obama come in, me being able to identify as a black man and him being a black man was really big for me. But for me, I think this is the most powerful from a representation standpoint because I have two little people that are female, and we had a chance to talk about some of this stuff, and they had a chance to see it with their own eyes. So when you start to think about the power of the mind and planting seeds, like at a very young age, they saw the actualization of possibility in their life. It's not a figment of their imagination. It's not something that could be. It's something that is. So that's their starting point. So that's how I see it. Like, okay. And honestly, and I said this last week, I don't think anybody of any sound mind, regardless of their politics, should not see it that way. I mean, that would be a problem to me if, you know, the symbolism of it and what it means, regardless of what side of the argument you're on, to our country and to the people that are in our country. That's how I see it. Yeah.
And yeah,
Penny's
Penny.
back.
Yep. I'm grateful the hospital where I work allows me the time it takes to talk to patients and family members. People need to know you take the time to make them feel important. You matter. Right now, that's what people need.
Absolutely.
I would argue I mean, when I worked in a hospital as a chaplain, like that was the entirety of the job was helping people just, know that they were being heard. And that's, it's only gotten worse since I was in that role 15 years ago. And especially right now, it's just incredible. But when people are in the hospital, usually things are acute. Usually things are pretty broken. So thank you for doing that work, Penny, I guess is what I'm saying. And for knowing that it's more than just sticking people with needles. So we got to transition here, y'all. We can't put this off.
Sure. Let's put it off. Let's put it off. I'm not happy with this one little bit.
Listen,
congratulations, Torian.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Always here in spirit. Not going anywhere.
No, he's just going to be pushing buttons behind the screen and muting himself randomly to be like, Royce!
But I mean, so I guess we do have to wrap it up. So, Christiana, from your standpoint, and this is kind of a question that we ask just for people who want to, be better, or maybe do something different. Any last things or last thoughts that you want to give them, tidbits that they can take away, outside of being able to check you out at your website at www.christianaserle.com.
Very nice.
Look at that. I'm going to add that to our link tree, y'all.
I would just say, moment to moment, and make sure to keep breathing, because that's all we can do right now. There's a lot of challenge in the world, and as long as we're breathing, there's more right with us than there is wrong with us. And that's true no matter what we have going on. So
I like that. Yeah. I'm all about that life.
So, I mean, first off, I have to say thank you, Christiana, for coming on today and for being willing to roll with
oh my gosh,
our silliness.
Thank you so much.
I mean, because we had chosen a topic, and then we invited Christiana, and then we realized, oh shit, this is going to be Torian's last day. Do we need to postpone? What do we need to do? Not last day, last time on screen for a while. Okay.
You will not see his mug
until next time.
But we will hear him in the intro because the voiceover is a thing.
Of course.
Can you bring out his head on a popsicle stick and just hold him?
I'm doing it.
Yes. We're both going to get him. Oh my God. Okay, so anyway, but just Torian, thank you. I wore my GB shirt because that was where we met.
Sir. Yep.
And I had to give a little shout out to that beginning and a relationship that sat me in a car after meeting you, sat me in a car crying for 20 minutes, just knowing that I'd actually connected with somebody that quickly who was willing to model vulnerability. And what it's like to connect with another man that way is this. Yeah, this is amazing to me. So I've treasured every minute that we've gotten to do this work. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. And again, this is not the end. But yeah, I mean that was a pivotal day for me, and I knew right away that we were connected. We would be doing something together in some way, shape, or form for the rest of our lives, and that doesn't change, man. You know, we talk about change and the thing that is constant, and we're navigating that change. You know, so that's all it is, man. But I do appreciate everything, how you've shown up, the space that you've held, and I look forward to continuing it just in different ways. You know. Yeah.
Teresa, you gotta say something here.
Oh my gosh, I can't. It's just, I mean, I know you're not going anywhere. I know you're still gonna be here. It's just, you know, change is hard.
That right there.
Change is hard. So I'm so excited for you. I'm so happy for you. I'm terrified. It's funny that, you know, Royce brings up my history and interviews, which I've done a lot.
Yes.
Still doesn't change that I get a ball in my stomach every time I'm on camera. I'm like, I was happy back here in button pushing land. So now. So thank you so much for bringing me to the forefront. I'm so happy.
You're welcome. Well, I look forward to all of your awesomeness being on display for the world to see. Because I know I've seen it, I've worked with it, all of the changes, all of the music, the progressions, the transitions, all the things that you've done. Not only have you done them tactically, but just taking them from idea to implementation. So translating that to camera is just going to be that much more awesome because the world gets to enjoy it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to give you a virtual kiss.
You just made my friend M really upset right now. Okay. So we're going to have to wrap this, because I still got to keep time. So thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Yes.
Where's your heart? If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button now.
Yeah.
Click it. You know, if you mess up and hit it twice, just hit it again. Make sure you're subscribed. And make sure you hit the notification button so you get all notifications of all new episodes.
And while you're
Torian.
there, and while you're there, click on the link tree. You'll find Christiana's website on there as soon as I get it updated. You'll find a bunch of our stuff from our past guests on there too, if you're looking for past guests to connect with.
Yeah.
All right. www.christianaserle.com.
That's the one.
All righty.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next Monday.
Hello.